I wanted to share with you kind of like a little trick that you can do in Blender using Sculpt nodes, and a way you can use it with Blender sculpting and shape keys. Like for example, if you're doing sculpting, have you ever wanted to perhaps sculpt and then have it like save into shape keys for every frame so you can play back the sculpting? So we're gonna be using, I'll be using UV sphere for now, and we're gonna turn on Sculpt nodes. It's actually really simple. I found this by accident. So you simply use object ID selector, and then you have a bmesh object here, and if I'm not wrong, we also need object ID out. So with the object ID selector plugin here, you plug this into this guy, and you perhaps move it to the side. Yeah, I think the setup looks something like this. Currently you can see already there's something's going on. Yeah, let's save this. It might actually crashes. SV sculpt hack. Save. Now we should go into sculpt mode and start sculpting, but I'm gonna turn on the tool setting, and let's sculpt a little bit. Oh, I'm using the alpha version of Blender here, 2.81, so there might be slightly weird thing here. Go to sculpt mode and then maybe move these things using grab tool. So what's gonna happen here is that for every frame changes, Sculpt will actually make a duplicate of this master object that we are sculpting. Just now it's happening. So one, and I'll make another pool, update the frame, another pool, update the frame. So this is gonna happen. So this is actually the basic idea. Once you're done, go to object mode and you look at this. Okay, that's the wrong thing. That's the actual thing. So I know what just happened. It created this object, which is just a bunch of vertices. Let's actually turn this off. Turn off live and unplug this and delete what we don't need. Okay, that's actually correct. 1, 2, 3. So this is the original object mesh. I'm gonna select all this and this one the last, and then F3 join as shapes. So this is actually I found this by accident. It's pretty strange, but it's actually working quite well. So you can see we can simply put this as a shape keys for this objects, which is the original shape. So let me demonstrate this once again. Delete everything. So we have nothing but only this setup inside Sculpt, and we start with maybe a monkey head, simple monkey head. We can subdivide it if you like. Apply, and then I'll go to sculpt mode. So we have Suzanne, plug this in, and live. Now we have Suzanne over there. and I'm gonna be sculpting Suzanne a little bit. Or maybe I should update that. So I'm gonna make changes to the ear. So every time I make changes, and if I like that, I'm gonna hit the arrow key, and it's gonna update the frame, and it's gonna update Shapekeys nodes to kind of make this simple little hack to make a duplicate. You can definitely use Python for this, and perhaps kind of simply making a new shape keys and then assigning the vertices. This should work fine as long the vertices doesn't change. So we need the same number of vertices, of course. It's for the shape keys. Perhaps in the future you can also, if the mesh count, if the vertices number is changing, that's possible as well. But you want to have the same thing, but it's gonna be gonna be changing the scale or the visibility of the mesh. So this method might be all you need. I really like Shapekeys. It's actually really powerful for animation. Sometimes we take that for granted. Okay, now we have this Suzanne completely weird out. So I'm gonna get the original. I'm gonna turn off live, unplug this just in case. It might crash Blender, but for the result we're gonna get is actually worth it. Join as shapes. Now we have shape keys, right? But in Blender you can turn off relative, and we have this. I thought that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's actually very powerful, and you can snippet like a hashtag frame, and you snippet a Python code there. So now you have an animations, and you can render this out. It's no problem. It's and now it can be real time. There's nothing fancy about this. It's Shapekeys, and you can have a cavity. Yeah. If you want to play around with this, maybe you can also use a sphere chalk to kind of goes inside and then randomize the shape keys here. Turn on relative, but randomize the shape key so you can have like all kind of different face of Suzanne. It's actually very interesting way to kind of randomize this. If you can make all this range, minimum and maximum, kind of go higher, like minus 10 and 10, minus 10 and 10, and then you kind of go play around with this value, and then suddenly you have a way to randomize Suzanne face in a way that you can never imagine. This is based on a Sculpt, of course. Look at this. So because I'm using the latest Blender 2.81, which is actually kind of like still under development, I want to show you this trick. I'm gonna save this blend. I'm gonna just quit with the Sculpt and some new brushes. So it might crash this, but I'm gonna show you this. Look, Sculpt mode, and look at this. We get a few new tools from Pablo, one of the developer for Blender, and he works on the Sculpt. And there's this thing called Orco draw. I don't know what it is exactly, Orco draw, but it's actually very interesting. So if I open the setup we have before, so everything should be working. I'm gonna delete everything. Use another monkey head, subdivide it just like that, and then go to sculpt mode. I will be using the Orco draw. I don't know, again, I don't know what it is, but plug this in, turn on live. We have this ghosting of Suzanne. Oh, I'm still using grab. Okay, cool. Go to the first frame. So it's updating the frame and it's gonna update Sverchok. Switch to Orco draw and then start drawing. Orco draw seems to be kind of morphing the face as you drag it. It's kind of smoothing it or something, but the result is slightly different if you just move it. So if I use option or control, it's gonna push in. So for every deforming that I'm applying into Suzanne, I should hit the arrow keys. Definitely a strange way to sculpt, but I'm just showing you this is something that can be quite interesting. It's kind of like melting. I noticed also in this a lot of new brushes. There is there's a graffiti somewhere. So as you sculpt, the graffiti will take over the sculpt. It's very natural, very interesting. So I should probably do a bit of pushing on the eye. So I'm kind of pushing and then kind of also dragging the mouse. So Orco seems it's changing and morphing the shape a little bit more aggressively. I think that's okay. That's decent. Now go back to object mode. I'm gonna save this. Another collection of weird Susan face. Turn off live and turn off objects. You don't want it to do crazy things after. Okay, now it's good. Original Susan face. Get this one, the last F3, join as shapes. Now let's see what we have. All the shape keys as usual. Turn off relative and evaluate. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to show you. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool technique. It's sometimes it might cause it to crash, or be careful with this setup. Supposedly you actually be careful if you, I think if you plug this again and then do another sculpt, it might actually make a duplicate of everything for every frame changes. So be careful on that, because this is just like a simple hack. But other than that, it's actually working really well for this kind of trick. There might be a way also to change this absolute key. It says this property is for internal use, cannot be edited, but sometimes if you are animating, you probably want to have control over this. You can reset it using this icon over here. But yeah, so that's a quick preview on Blender new brushes, as well as this stupid cool tricks using stretch nodes to kind of make a duplicate for the mesh for every updates of Sculpt. All right. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.